It's time for the Conway Regional, where the Florida Gators could and should advance.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. We switch to the Conway Regional. We bring in our buddy Brandon Olson. He is the host of Locked On Gators. Florida Gators heading to South Carolina, along with East Carolina and Fairfield, to take on the host team, the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Brandon, thanks for hopping on Locked On Sunbelt. What a turnaround for the Florida Gators. We went over it earlier in the week. They started out 1-11 in SEC play. They finished up 15-15. Did they think they should have hosted? That's A. And they had 3 RPI when they finished the season. And, what turned their season around? And again, thanks for hopping on Locked On Sunbelt.
Of course. Well, like we spoke about briefly off air, Florida basketball won the national championship, and then baseball decided, people are going to care about what we do now because they can't watch the basketball team, and so we need to play better. And that's kind of how it went. Once that happened, they started playing better. I personally, I know there's people who think that Florida should have hosted something. I don't. If you wanted to host something, don't lose to Ole Miss in the second round of the SEC tournament, and maybe you can have a better case for things. But I don't feel as strongly as some people do about Florida potentially hosting that, just because, again, and look, there's going to be people who go, oh, but look what they've done since April 8th or whatever the specific date of the national championship was for basketball. There's going to be people who do that, but I feel like you're not allowed to do that if you don't want to acknowledge what happened before that. Because, we're talking about a resume of a full season. We're not talking about what have you done since your team started caring or since your team started playing well. And so personally, I don't feel that Florida, and again, if they hosted, awesome, but they don't. And I'm not going to be upset about something like that. Go out there and win. You didn't host last year and you won it. And so I feel like we can just say, hey, you don't need to host. It would have been great. Gainesville would have been bumping for it, but that's not the case. And I could see the justification for why that's not the case. So I'm just not the type of person that's going to be upset about something like that.
All right. So you brought up the basketball team. That's a nice story, but obviously something changed on the field other than, being inspired by the national champions on the hard court. Yeah.
They started it's weird because I want to say that it's this simple. They just started playing better. That's really it. They just finally clicked. They finally started. One of the things that really drives me up a freaking wall is when you're not patient at the plate. And Florida, they started playing more patiently. Their pitching started cleaning up, which was nothing short of a travesty to start the year. It was just ugly, terrible, horrible, no good, very bad, any way you want to describe it. I think pitching really tightened up, and we saw the guys that were young throughout the entire team started finally looking like they were settling in and started finally looking like they were using the experience that they finally started picking up. And I think that Florida to do that was huge, especially with Sully as the coach. We've gone through this quite a few times now with the Florida Gators where they start off the year not looking great, and Florida Gators fans start going, maybe it's time for Sully to go. When Nick Saban was at Alabama and they would have, a moderately down year or a cold stretch for any stretch, people would go, maybe Nick Saban's messaging is getting stale. Maybe his messaging is getting stale. And people have started to do that with Sully. I think it's, I almost just called it a crock-a, but I'm not going to say that, but I will say, I think it's pretty premature to think that. I don't think Sully's messaging is getting stale. I think that for a few years now, he's had younger teams that younger players are more volatile and they just take a little while longer to get settled.
Well, yeah, I'm much more of a reasons guy versus excuses. There is a big difference, and I certainly am, not well versed on the Florida Gators high school experience, but playing in front of 500 people in high school that are mostly your friends and your friends' family, and then playing in front of 5 to 10,000 in the SEC is going to be a little bit different of an experience. And there's going to be a big difference between playing and pitching in a midweek ball game between coming in the 8th inning of a Friday or Saturday night ball game. All right. So those are steps that you have to take. And until you get used to it, until you can calm yourself down, that's stuff you have to experience before you get used to it. Not everybody is Paul Skeens out of the box.
Which, Florida dealt with him personally a couple of years ago in the World Series, and it wasn't awesome. But yeah, Florida, having someone like Liam Peterson step up was big. Aiden King tightened up. Jake Clement coming back after last year, having some big moments there in the pitching rotation. I feel like they've finally settled in. Those midweek games for a while were pretty ugly for Florida, but it went from those games don't matter to, those are the ones Florida's winning while they're starting 1-11 in conference play, because Florida Gators fans oftentimes, you drop a Tuesday game and the fan base goes, well, those games don't matter. Those midweek games don't really matter. And then Florida started losing all the other ones, and things finally turned around. And so I think that for Florida to get that experience was huge. Like you mentioned, you go from playing for 500 people who you probably know most of them. And if you don't know most of them, well, they probably know your teammates. And now you got the nation watching you when you're out there playing. And with the Florida Gators, look, Florida has a reputation as a pretty, we'll say, hot-headed fan base. And so, you have some struggles and people get on your back about it. And it seems like once that started to die down a little bit, the team started to pick up a little bit and play better. And again, I think a lot of it just came down to Sully getting the team just settled. I feel like I mentioned, not waiting for your pitch at the plate, not working the count at all, just swinging away right away. And grounding out to second, flying out foul territory to first, finally waiting for your pitch started to help this offense pick up a bit, and started to help this off, or not even pick up, started to help them steady. I want to say it wasn't as volatile. Once Sully seemed like they settled in, it became more steady and more consistent.
Well, tell us about Kevin O'Sullivan, because for those of us who have been following, I've been, watching SEC baseball for the better part of a decade now, since I moved to Louisiana back in 2013, and watching him coach Florida, almost taking that LSU job a few years back. It does feel like he starts the game off with like a tie game in the 9th inning. So he seems like, the hot-headedness of the fans may be a reflection of the coach, because with those, ice blue eyes, and he's behind the Oakleys, and he just seems like he's intense from the first pitch of the ball game, which is great, but it does feel like there's an aneurysm coming at any moment. So obviously he's not going to be like that. I understand during the games, but obviously, like you said, his message is going to get through, and he cares about his players, and he's bringing his players along. And, when they're younger, there's got to be a little bit more understanding and everything along those lines. So tell us about Kevin O'Sullivan and how he has had his team mature this season, because all we get to see is that intensity in the dugout that, I would lose a staring match with him. I might last 5 seconds.
Yeah. Well, the first thing you need to know about Sully is that I would die for him. That's the first thing that needs to be established. And the second thing is, I think the way he leads is perfect for modern college baseball players. I think that intensity in game, it does help, I think, a lot of people to constantly be amped and locked in, and to not have any, lackadaisical moments, for lack of a better term there. But also, I do think that when he's had his press conferences, he's honest, but seems more understanding. Like, maybe it's just the way he comes off with the intensity, but when he's had media ask him about, the slow start, he's kind of just been like, they need to get better, and they won't get better. Like he seemed kind of confident about oh, hey, like we'll turn this around, like they will improve. And it hasn't so much been anything about him looking like he's going to blow a gasket or anything when he's speaking with media. He seems like they need to get better. They will get better. We'll figure it out. And it seems like he's like, all right, maybe he's just a really intense seeming person, which we know he is an intense person. But it seems like he's always on edge.
Yes.
And I do think that when they're out of the game situation, it's not so much like that. I do think that he's more even keel, off or out of the dugout, we'll say.
All right, and we're talking with Brandon Olson, Locked On Gators here on Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Do we have a pitching rotation yet for the Gators?
I think that we're going to go through Liam Peterson, Aiden King, going to be first two out there. Okay. And I think that's what we're going to see from there.
All right, so going against ECU, and then we think that's going to go against, Coastal Carolina.
The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up at FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. And if it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
So let's switch gears. Let's go Coastal because they do feel disrespected. They do think they should be the national seed. They are the second hottest team in the nation with an 18-game winning streak. They were the regular season champs. They were the Sun Belt tourney champs, did not lose a game in the Sun Belt tournament. They only Northeastern has a longer winning streak in the nation, 27. Coastal Carolina has won 18. They do feel they should be a national seed. And if you're not a national seed, I got to ask you, Brandon, and this is why Troy didn't get in, because not only did they not get a national seed, they didn't get 9, 10, 11, or 12. They fell all the way to 13th. I mean, should Coastal feel disrespected? Because that's a little bit disrespected. I started talking that out. You don't think they put Coastal Carolina 13th as a way for the NCAA to justify Troy not getting in? They wouldn't do that, would they? Because guess who beat Coastal Carolina 2 out of 3? The Troy Trojans.
I would put nothing past anyone. I will say that. Just with all of the tournaments and all of the, I'll say, I don't know how to describe, but what feels like misseedings, I guess we'll say, I wouldn't put anything past anyone. I think Coastal's a pretty damn good team. Their pitching is
in the nation, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know how the hell you get by it. I really don't.
I get it if you don't get the national seed, okay, all right, that's one thing. But to not get 9, 10, 11, or 12, something like you weren't close to getting the national seed, right? That's the problem that I have. Because those D1 baseball guys are really good. Like I think they got like 63 of the 64 teams in. Like they were wrong on UConn or something like that. They know those guys know what they're doing. And they had Coastal as I think they switched it at the end. They didn't have Coastal in at the night before, but I mean, they had Coastal as like a 9 seed. So Coastal should feel disrespected in terms of where they were seated. If you miss out by 1, okay. I mean, they're talking about putting 72 or 76 teams in the NCAA basketball tournament. All that means is that the 77th team is going to be pissed off when they don't get in, right?
Yeah. That's always what it was going to be. Even with football, when it was like, oh, well, we're going to go to 12 so that we're not worrying about who's 5 and 6 now. And it's like, all we're going to do then is worry about who's 13 and 14.
That's exactly right.
That's all that's going to happen. Like
that's right.
You can set it to be 130, and we're still going to have a conversation about who's 131, who's Correct. 132. Like that's always going to be a thing. So I think that is always going to be nonsense. It's, you know what? I will talk about it the same way I talk about officiating in any sport. It's just, I think they're bad at it now. I don't think they want to get better at it. I don't think they want to get better at anything. I think that they're totally fine going, hey, you're pissed off, but this is the way that we like it. And you can go screw yourself if you disagree. Like, and so I think that when we talk about the seeding and Coastal, again, whether or not they should have been national, I think we can agree would have been better or should have been better. Sorry.
Could have been. Yes, they could have been a national seed, but certainly should have been no worse than 10.
Yeah, I think the case for national, absolutely there. Yes. I don't even think you need a case for better than right. I don't even think you need a case for it. I think you just need to go, okay, well, clearly. And so I think that, again, this is one of those things where I'm just accepting the fact that the people in charge don't care, and that they hate people they just hate happiness. And I'm accepting that. That's my thing now of just officiating. You stink. Recruiting sites, you stink. Whoever is making any tournament, anything, you stink. And I'm accepting that you're just not going to get better because you don't care to get better because you think that you're doing a fine job when really all the things that I just named are awful and horrible. And that's my new approach to college sports. That's what I'm doing now. Well, welcome to the new Brandon Olson. That's how we feel.
That's a whole new podcast.
Oh yeah, Locked On, go F yourself. I'm ready to start it right now. I'm ready to start it right now. Just say it. I'm there.
He is Brandon Olson for the time being. Brandon Olson for the time being. Locked On Gators. He is locked on. We are Locked On Sunbelt crossover edition. All right, so the big question here as the Gators, ECU, and Fairfield are coming into Conway to take on the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers is who's going to be pitching on Friday. And also there's this issue of weather. It's not supposed to be in there for the weekend, but it is supposed to hit right when Coastal Carolina apparently is supposed to play. But you do have, the option of Jacob Morrison was the Sun Belt Pitcher of the Year, only 11-0 with a 1.90 ERA. You do have Riley Eichhoff, who was 6-2 with a 3.19 ERA, and Cameron Fluke, who is 6-1 with a 3.16 ERA. Someone said Eichhoff could be going Friday and holding back Morrison until the Gators, in theory. So far in the last few weeks, Morrison has been pitching on Friday. Everybody's moved up a day or the schedule moved up, right, because of the tournaments. But he stayed on Friday. He pitched on, I believe, on Friday in the Sun Belt. He didn't go early Wednesday or Thursday. And he could pitch on Friday or on Saturdays. He's certainly on regular or extra rest. So it will be interesting to see on how, and as of this recording, it could change by Friday morning, how Coastal Carolina is using Jacob Morrison. It did come out in the other one. Matt Adams is going to go for Southern Miss, and they are holding back J.D. Middleton, which is a little bit out of character for Southern Miss. They usually use their ace first up and then worry about whatever they worry about later on, but they're going to hold their ace back for the winner of or for Saturday, which is going to be against Alabama or Miami, whether they win or lose, I guess. You can look at it that way. So it'll be interesting to see what Coastal Carolina does. I would presume they're going to hold Morrison back to face the Gators on Saturday.
I hate that for two reasons. I'll say, one, I don't want Florida to face him. That's
the obvious one. That's a good one.
Two, I feel maybe this is just me, but I feel like you should start with your ace. Like I feel like that's just my thought process is get the guy that's gonna, I don't want to say almost definitely win you the game, just so I don't jinx anything, but get you the guy that gives you the best chance to win. I think should be the first pitcher. And Jacob Morrison's just been, I mean,
Lights out.
a monster. I mean, he's just been a monster. And he had Tommy John missed last year, right?
That I don't know.
I'm fairly certain he's doing this off of Tommy John. And that just makes him that much more impressive. And so I feel like I think he's
apparently so.
Yeah. So I feel like him doing that or playing this way off of that it just makes his already very impressive season that much more impressive. But yeah, I feel like the way that you should approach things is the guy that gives you the best chance to win should be the guy that you have pitching game one. And also because it gives him the best chance or the longest chance of recovery for whenever you guys play again, assuming that you move on.
Well, yeah, some guys, mess around with that. Paul Maneri at LSU would mess around with that. Sometimes it would bite him, sometimes it wouldn't. Jay Johnson did not mess around with that. He did pitch Paul Skeens against a Tulane team that had a losing record, probably didn't need to, but Skeens mowed him down, and it certainly didn't hurt him any as they all went on to win a national championship. So there certainly is two theories of thought, right? They Southern Miss shouldn't have a problem with Columbia, all right? Although I guess Columbia is pretty good offensively.
New York, baby. Sorry.
There you go. Ivy League. They have not had they're not necessarily battle tested. Ironically, their biggest win basically since they beat Kennesaw State is against, is it ironic or coincidental, against Fairfield, as it turns out. Otherwise, they haven't beaten anybody with an RPI that's higher than 100 or maybe even 120 since they beat Fairfield, who was 74 at the time. And Coastal Carolina, who's playing Fairfield, if you can't beat those two teams with not your ace, you're going to have a really difficult time winning the regional against, Southern Miss got Alabama and Miami. And obviously Florida is as hot as, not quite as hot as Northeastern and Coastal Carolina, but still
they were as hot a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
They were as hot a few weeks ago and then little tapered off there. But I mean, yeah, if they can get back to how they were playing a few weeks ago, then and go right back into, you know what? I got an idea. We're going to tell Florida baseball, just bear with me. We're going to tell Florida baseball that Florida basketball just won the national championship again.
Right.
And then they're going to just go on a tear again. And then we're right back in it.
I do have one question, and Coastal Carolina fans, I'm sure, interested. Jacques Caglion, is that how we say his name? He doesn't have a brother or twin. How do we say his name?
Caglion,
yeah. He doesn't have a twin monster. Is he like 6'6"? Does he have 2% body fat? That guy was a monster.
There was a video that came out about him, I think it was on Wednesday, of him playing, I think it was All Time Low was the song or was the band that he was like playing air guitar on. And he is, I don't think he has a single ounce of body fat.
No.
He went out there and it was just looking like a tank. It was crazy.
Is he in AA already? Because I think I saw him go
Oppo. He's in AAA.
Oh, he's in AAA. I thought I saw him go Oppo in Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
He went Oppo in against he may have been playing for Arkansas. I don't know where he's playing, but playing in Arkansas, in Fayetteville, for the Naturals or against the Naturals. He went Oppo, and I mean he's just a monster.
He's in Omaha now because that's where their AAA team is for the Kansas City Royals. He has, I think he's played 10 games there, and I think he has 5 or 6 home runs already. And there, a lot of Royals fans and media are like, "Hey, call him up." And the Royals GM the other day was like, "No, we're not doing that. We're going to give him a while in AAA. We're not just going to be like, oh yeah, we called you up, you got hot, and then we're going to bring you up to the majors." But I would put money that by the All-Star break,
yeah,
I was going to say he'll be in the majors.
Well,
beast.
That service time may be like in a week. So, he may be up there in 10 days.
Hopefully, because,
Yeah.
oh, man, he's just been wrecking. And also, full disclosure, I have him on my dynasty baseball team. So I could use the juice. I'm in last place right now. I could use the juice of him and Bazana, I think his name is, with the Guardians. If they want to call up, I'm cool with it. I could use the help. Just want to throw that one out there.
Okay.
Royals, if you're watching or if you're listening,
sure,
I could use the help.
Sure.
Just want to throw that one out
there. All right, let's basically wrap things up with Brandon Olson from Locked On Gators. We're Locked On Sunbelt doing a crossover, talking Conway Regional, Coastal Carolina Chanticleers hosting the Florida Gators, ECU Pirates, and Fairfield. All right, let's talk predictions. What do you got? How does Florida win this regional if they do?
I think that they win it with the long ball. I mean, that's how they've done so much of their damage. It's a hitter-friendly ballpark. And so I think that Florida wins it. And it's not to knock anybody that they're in this regional with. It's just, I think that this is a really good team. I think that the first half of the year, they absolutely underwhelmed. But I think that what we've seen, I'm not even saying with the insane hot streak they went on in early mid-April, but I think the team that we've seen over the past 3.5 weeks is more realistic of what this team is. I don't think that it's about them being hot or cold anymore right now. I think this is just who they are. And I think that hitter-friendly ballpark is going to help them. And I think that they should be able to, and look, if they don't, it's going to be really upsetting, really disappointing. But I'm not going to be the kind of person that's like, oh, maybe Sully's messaging is getting poor. I think that, it's either Florida or Coastal Carolina are going to walk out of here. And I'm projecting it to be Florida, predicting it to be Florida, but
do they have enough pitching?
I hope so. I'm gonna hope so with how inconsistent they've been at times, but I think that I think they have enough. I think they do. I think they can make the run, and again, I think that for some teams, it's not even going to be, or for some games, maybe just throughout this postseason, it might not even be. Does Florida have the pitching to keep the opponent down? It's, will the other team have enough offense to pick up or to keep up with Florida if those bats get just a little bit hot? Because again, Chicks dig the long ball, so do the Florida Gators, and hitter-friendly ballpark could help them out.
Coastal's one of the more balanced teams in America. Outstanding pitching, really good offense. They got a catcher who leads off. My goodness. Here's, talking strength versus strength. The Gators have hit 88 home runs this year. Coastal Carolina pitching has only allowed 39 home runs this season. That deserves a wow.
Yeah.
That's really impressive. So I'm going to take a different tack than you. You're telling me you believe that Florida's going to win it, and if they don't, okay, Coastal Carolina is pretty good. I'm telling you, Coastal Carolina has to win this regional. They've been really good all year long. They were clamoring to host. They should be higher seeded, if not a national seed. I don't want to hear that you lost because you lost to a good SEC team that got hot at the end of the year. You need to host the SEC team. You need to take on a dangerous ECU team. Don't overlook Fairfield because, as we know, Brandon, everybody's got a Friday night starter, all right? Everybody can throw it 7 shutout innings, so you got to be careful with that. But I don't want to hear it next week when we hear, oh, no, and was just reminded watching local television, Coastal Carolina a couple years ago lost to Rider, all right? So in the first game of a regional that they hosted, same conference as Fairfield in the MAAC, not the MAC. So don't want to hear about how tough this is going to be because you got the tough Florida Gators winning a national championship a couple years ago. You got to win this, all right? I don't want to hear it from Coastal. I don't want to hear it from Southern Miss. Go out and win this, and we'll see if Auburn. You're locked in with Auburn, pun intended, I guess. We'll see if the Tigers win it. Otherwise, you're going to go to Auburn. That would be a great series. potential another crossover there, Mr. Blackerby. So we'll see if that happens. But no, Coastal Carolina needs to win this, and I'll say it, they should win this. They are the better team. Florida's hot, but Coastal Carolina's hotter, and they have more pitching. Florida may have one or two guys that are hotter at the plate, but I think Coastal Carolina's got the more balanced attack.
And one thing, I think it was Baseball America, that Coastal Carolina's worst ERA amongst qualifying pitchers, which is, I think they had like 20 or 25 innings pitched, 3.51 is the
right.
worst. The worst ERA
yes.
That is on that Coastal pitching staff. So, I mean, look,
and that guy is a freshman, and he started the Sun Belt Championship game and got out of a bases loaded jam against the other hot team that was in the Sun Belt that's in the NCAA tournament, Southern Miss. So that guy is going to replace, well, not going to replace because Jacob Morrison's coming back, but you have a 1-2 punch. That's Luke Jones. Yeah, he's really good too.
Yeah, it's like I said, I know that a lot of Florida Gators fans were going to go, oh yeah, we're the SEC, we should win, but
yes,
I don't think it's as easy as many people think. Again, I think Florida should go, and I'm going to pick Florida, like I said, but I don't think it's as if you don't win, then it's an absolute failure. I don't think it's that crazy, because if this team was as good as that thought process is, they'd be hosting.
Well, I'm not overlooking Florida. Obviously, but how they turn their season around, and they're a good baseball team. I don't think it's going to be easy, but Coastal Carolina should win. All right, that's what I think. Brandon Olson, great catching up, my friend. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Please tell Billy Napier to throw it to the tight end. He knows that. That should be our combined podcast. Throw it to the tight end.
Yeah, I mean,
locked on tight end.
The tight end is my interview every week during the season. I would love it if he threw to the tight end more.
He's Brandon Olson, Locked On Gators. He's hopping on Locked On Sunbelt as we have a crossover edition previewing the Conway Regional, Coastal Carolina, Florida Gators, ECU Pirates, and Fairfield. Thank you so much, Brandon.
Thank you.